very happy morning to our chief guest, Dr. M.N. Manik sir, our beloved principal, Dr. M.K. Malati ma'am, our correspondent and honorable secretary, Dr. Gautam P. White sir, Dr. Gayatri ma'am, head Department of Commerce, Dr. Lakshmi ma'am, head Department of Accounting and Finance, and all the faculty members and the students. On behalf of Guru Shri Shantivijai Jain College for Women, in association with IQAC, I, Purvi Sharma, Department Secretary of Accounting and Finance, sees it as a great honor in welcoming each and everyone to the 3 days international conference on the theme The Global Economic Outlook During COVID-19 Pandemic, A Changed World, hosted by Department of Commerce and Accounting and Finance, Shift 1. We are happy in having you all for the technical session 2 on business and work in post-pandemic future. On behalf of each and everyone, I would like to extend a cheerful welcome to our guest speaker, Dr. M.N. Manik Sir, Professor and Director, Global Business School, Karnataka University. It's a great pleasure in having you as our guest speaker for today's session, sir. Prayer
Thank you,
should be the
madam.
key of the day and lock of the night. So let's start our session with the prayer. Now I request Ms. Sudha Ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Accounting and Finance, to render a courteous welcome to our chief guest and towards the beholder. Over to you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all. I consider it a great honor to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. M.N. Manik, Professor and Director, Global Business School, Karnataka University. Dr. M.N. Manik has more than 20 years of experience in academic and research. He has been associated with industrial sector for many years, especially in the field of marketing, sales, training and consultancy. Dr. M.N. Manik is an expert in handling the various courses, specifically marketing management, marketing research, business to business marketing, sales management, advertising management, sales promotion, and entrepreneurship development. As academician, he is very much specialized in the subject of international business and marketing. Dr. M.N. Manik has been a resource person in the ground of marketing, foreign exchange, and for many international webinars. Our guest speaker is not only an interview panel member, but also a language and soft skill trainer for many automobile dealers, service providing industries, and hospitality industry. Thus, our chief guest, Dr. M.N. Manik, was awarded as an Academic Excellence Award 2019 for Best Professor by Academia of Management Professionals, Hyderabad. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for your wonderful introduction.
Thank you, ma'am. Our college deems it as an honor to felicitate our guest speaker with a memento of appreciation. I now request our guest speaker, Dr. M.N. Manik sir, to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Esteemed guests of today's conference, the organizers, in particularly Professor Lakshmi Raja and Gayatri ma'am. Indeed, it is a pleasure to interact with you people, and I'm very humbled for giving me an opportunity to speak on this burning topic today. Hope with the effort and work I have put in 15 days since Lakshmi madam called me till yesterday, will definitely do justice to the topic and the audience today. The business and work in post-pandemic future. This was an extraordinary time which we never had expected. We had expected that there will be a lockdown, self-imposed curfew, where people themselves will lock themselves inside the homes and they will not be going out. And this situation worsened when the migrant laborers started moving back to their native places from metro cities, tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Because most of them, they had come to big cities in search of job, food and better life. But this posed a greatest challenge in the humanitarian history, especially in a country like India, where you have huge population which comes from the hinterlands and villages to work in metro cities. Probably you must have witnessed and seen it in your respective places and cities too. Now I would like to draw your attention for the catastrophe which people faced. But before that, I would like to just set an environment, how we are working today. If there was no pandemic, probably you might have invited me to your college. I would have been doing it in a big hall or a seminar hall or a community hall in your respective college. I am doing it in sitting in a remote place, that too a far off place from Chennai, almost 1200 to 1500 kilometers away from your place. I'm doing it. Despite of that, I'm connected. Somebody is sitting at office, somebody is sitting at home, somebody is sitting in college, somebody is sitting in seminar hall, somebody is sitting in their rooms, workplaces, but they are listening to this lecture. So that is how the business and work has changed post pandemic. Just to give you some perspective, a little bit numbers. There have been a survey of almost 200 CEOs. Out of the 200 CEOs, 52% of CEOs foresee job losses in their sectors. 47% expect job cuts to be less than 15%, but a worry of the graph is almost around 32%. Expect a loss of 15 to 30% of jobs. So that varies from sector to sector. And this survey is done by CII, Survey on Employment. The job loss in the e-commerce sector was almost 14.5 lakh in e-commerce. The people who are employed. The people who are employed in food processing, 69.9 lakh food processing, almost 70 million. 474 lakh means almost 4.5 crore, close to 5 crore people are employed in retail sector. 500 lakh in tourism. Almost 50 crore people, and almost 500 lakh means it's almost 50 crore people are in tourism. And highest number, that is 662 lakh in building and construction industry. So that gives us a huge number of people are employed across all these sectors. This is by the survey done by III, building and construction sector gives us the highest employment. Now the biggest challenge before the economy and the government of India in the first pandemic, first wave, what we call, which started in April and ended by June. In this April, May, and June 3 months, we faced this catastrophe of, losing jobs, people losing their problems, and people losing their livelihood, people losing their meal and employment. So this led to the huge catastrophe of unemployment and poverty, and it has sent many people into poverty. So many people across the world, not only in India, in particularly in India, many people have lost their jobs. So this put huge pressure on government, because pre-pandemic we were clocking a growth of 6.5 to 7%. Economic growth, GDP growth we were clocking. But the moment the pandemic struck, that came down to 3%. And we faced a different situation. All of us we are going to job in this situation. Everyone has to put mask. Everyone has to take maximum precaution for washing and cleaning their hands, keeping and maintaining social distancing. So these were all the things which were new to us in the first pandemic. Well, the topic we are discussing today is this: job opportunities post COVID-19 Corona. Outlook magazine, which says that 100 million and more Indian jobs are at risk after COVID-19 lockdown. 100 million means almost 10 crore. Job losses and pay cuts to be prevented. The government also gave instructions to some of the private sectors that at least credit the basic salary to their employees, laborers, and people. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE, predicted that 12 crore job losses in Indian economy by April. So that is the grim situation. The government had actually promised that every year we will give 2 crore jobs to Indians. But we lost 12 crore jobs in the first wave of COVID. The Indian economic growth has fallen from 6.5 to 1.8% in first quarter of 2020-21 financial year. This is what we are seeing today. And this is imminent. We cannot just overcome this in a short time. The next challenge is the job loss plus a recovery is expected in 2021. But again, in 2021, we struck second wave. And there are also speculation that the third wave is imminent in October and November. By the end of September, it will start, and October, we will be in the peak. Then by November, it will come down. So we are also expecting the third wave also. But in the first wave, more women lost jobs in lockdown. The study says, I have quoted the paper here, the source, Azim Premji University paper based on CMIE data. So women were 7 times more likely to lose jobs during the lockdown than men because of various reasons. It could be men with higher education more likely to return to work, women with higher education less likely. Married men more likely to return to work, but married women less likely. So these are some of the data and information I would like to share to say that the situation is still grim. Whatever the government is, putting its efforts to bring our economy back on track, to bring our economy on, pedal, but still the situation is grim. It is not yet improved. The other aspects at the global level, what has happened and how it has put an impact and influence on various sectors. When the entire world came to a stopped, the air traffic came down, the flights stopped, railways stopped, only the essential and freight trains allowed, all the passenger movement, taxis, buses were stopped, only the movement of goods were allowed. So because of that, the oil demand came down, the crude oil demand, petrol, diesel demand came down. Because the demand came down, the prices also crashed. So when the prices crashed, how it is going to have an impact on India? You may ask. We don't produce oil, but there are around more than 25 million people work in Gulf countries, Indians. More than 25 million people means it is 2.5 million people work in Gulf countries. So when the oil prices crash, when the Gulf countries completely depend on the oil, and if the oil prices crash and oil production output comes down, then obviously Indians started losing jobs in Gulf. So we were expecting that almost 10 million people will lose job and come back to India. And these 25 million people account for $80 billion worth of foreign exchange credit to our account. They earn foreign exchange for India close to $80 billion, 80 to $100 billion per annum. So that is the amount India gets from the NRIs who are working in Gulf. So that has put a huge pressure on Indian foreign exchange reserves and job market. Already we have lost job for 12 crore people, and again this another 1 crore people will come back to India without job and without earning. The second point, firms now have to look at liquidity, not margins and profit. It has forced most of the manufacturing firms to look at liquidity. Whatever stocks they have to clear it off. They have to sell it off whatever price they get. Because if they delay for some more time, whatever stock they are having, even that will not be having any demand. The food industry was the most affected industry because when there is a lockdown, when there is a breakdown of supply chain, you cannot stock food for a long time because the food industry works on clock precision because it is perishable. It is not highly perishable like milk, ice cream, and medicine, beverages, non-veg items, meat, vegetables, fruits, but food items, especially grains, then ready-to-eat food and all, they also got affected. So most of the business houses, they started concentrating on how to achieve the liquidity. Whatever stock is there, please clear it off, achieve the liquidity so that you can churn out the supply and buy, manufacture and pay salaries. If you look at margins, you will not be able to sell your products at all. So first look at the liquidity. Then the new norm became a normal, work from home. So that led to what? That led to encouraging the improvement and innovation, and that led to many new firms, many new food startups came up. So if you remember, the Alibaba's rise came from SARS. Now we had this virus again originated from China itself. We had a problem. So SARS led to the birth of Alibaba, and today Alibaba is one of the top e-commerce platform in the world, the richest and the biggest and the largest. So work from home led to it encouraged startups and mobile apps. Most of us, we were not in a position to conduct and host and do the classes online before the pandemic. After the pandemic, we started working online by using mobile phones, by using online platforms, by using the online resources, because we felt that the new normal, it has come as a new normal because work from home led to introduction of various apps, especially online platforms. How many of us we used Google Team, the MS Office Online, Google Meet, and MS Office Team, Zoom? The various platforms flourished because of online teaching. And most of the professors and teachers, those who were from the very old school of thought, people who are in their 50s and 50 plus and 60s, they were unable to cope up with the new technology and new method of teaching. So they were forced to learn and they were forced to use these apps. And this pandemic made many small startups into unicorns, $1 billion companies, and that led to a change. That is a positive change. Online teaching and learning platforms have given us that we can also do it, as it used to happen only in the European and American universities, but most of the Indian universities also have adopted this. And this helped improve our healthcare system. If you imagine, we had 5 beds per 1,000 persons in India before pandemic, and the chance to become the world's top and the best healthcare system, it pushed our healthcare system to the walls and to the it pushed to our limits to test that whether we can bounce back, and that led to restructure our healthcare system. It gave us the importance of improving building hospitals and infrastructure. Many industries faced the supply chain glut and supply chain problems that helped us how we can supply, and this led to Indian Railways to convert its compartments, the passenger compartments, into isolation centers and hospitals and clinics. So this gave us a lot of opportunity, and India can become world's healthcare capital like it happened in 2000 as a IT hub because of the Y2K problem. So Y2K problem made India as a superpower of IT industry. So impact on sectors, I would like to just draw your attention to various sectors. The most affected sectors were the hospitality and aviation, because the moment the lockdown was imposed, the flights were cancelled. And the maintenance and handling of flights is one of the most expensive affair in the world, because even if you park the flights for more than 1 week, you have to and the airport charges, the parking charges, again the flights which are lying in the airport, and the cancellation of tickets. These are all going to have a huge impact on most of the airlines. And during this 2 years of time, many airline companies closed. Many airline companies went into bankruptcy. And the most affected place along with the places along with India are US and many countries in Europe. And this pandemic affected only the rich countries because they travel from one country to another countries. This is considered as the disease of or a pandemic of rich people, because this spread through people who travel or those people who fly, and that affected the entire world because people moving from one country to another country through transit airports or through flights and all, so that led to the escalation of the spread of the pandemic. And if you look at the real estate sector also, that is also one of the most affected sector. The sector's demand for office in square feet, the NCR, Delhi NCR is having 166 million square feet. It dropped 10% in that. Bangalore 164, Mumbai followed with 146, Hyderabad 75, Pune 73, Chennai 72, Kolkata 31.5, Ahmedabad 28. All put together, all India 758.1 square feet of area is vacant, because Most of the corporates thought working from home is saving their rental cost between 10 to 30%, because big corporations, those who hire at very expensive areas, the office space and recreation space and all, that was costing them very huge, and that they are able to save, and in that they are able to manage the salaries and other expenses of their company. The aviation sector, when you look at the trending projection, you had the passengers who were traveling, domestic passengers in millions. In the beginning of 2019, you had 275.2 million passengers in India travel. I'm just speaking about the domestic passengers. Immediately in 20 and 21, it plunged to 196 million, means only 19 crore people travel. But in the earlier, before the pandemic, we had almost 27 crore people traveled and used the flight, and they travel through aviation route. The next important thing is, what is going to be the prioritization? How you are going to prioritize the sectors to restart and reboot the economy? Because laborers have lost jobs, they already have gone and settled in their rural areas, whether they get one times meal or two times meal, or they don't get a meal, but they are with their families. First priority is, the stage one is going to be, you have to encourage the labor intensive industries like textiles, apparels, pharmaceutical, food processing, minerals and metals. If you rejuvenate and encourage these industries, the labor movement, again the laborers will come back to the tier 1 and tier 2 cities to work in companies, factories and manufacturing places. The second stage, again, you are going to ignite the engine of agri mandis, e-commerce, grocery and medicines, automobile and chemicals. So this will give first the employment to the people who have already migrated back to their native places. They will again come back. And automobile sector is one of the rejuvenating sector which will give employment as well as revenue to the government. The e-commerce, especially grocery and medicine, groceries will give income to the farmers, because the e-commerce taking up the stocks of farmers. The farmers were not in a position to transport their produce from places to mandis and selling places. So e-commerce companies, they directly pick from the farmers. So that will lead to transportation and labor employment. Then comes the high-tech manufacturing, that is stage 3. Electronics, construction, hospitality, and retail. So if you give encouragement to this, the third stage, when first you need to provide employment. Once you provide employment, people have money. And if they have money, then only they will buy. So first you are starting labor intensive industries to give them job and make them to earn. And second, you are starting the food processing, food and necessities, because once people have money for consumption, for movement, for transportation, for food, for their requirement, they start buying this. So once these are fulfilled, the third stage comes the non-essential, which are electronics, construction, hospitality, retail. Then capital goods you can start later. So this is how we can reboot the economy from the financial crisis what we are going through as of now. Lockdown drives Indian economy into deep coma. First, the United States, US's GDP is 21.44 trillion. The US GDP in purchasing power parity is 21.44 trillion, followed by China with 14.14 trillion. But China's GDP in terms of purchasing power parity, PPP, is 27.31 trillion, followed by Japan, which has 5.15 trillion, Germany, which has 3.86 trillion, but PPP is 4.44 trillion. The fifth largest economy in the world is Indian economy, with a nominal GDP of 2.494 trillion GDP, but purchasing power parity, with that, our GDP growth, our GDP is around $10.51 trillion. India was the fastest growing trillion-dollar economy in the world and the fifth largest overall with a normal GDP of 2.94 trillion. But India's growth rate is expected to rise from 7.3% in 2018 to 7.5 in 2019 as drags from currency exchange initiatives and introduction of the goods and services tax fade. According to IMF, the GDP is likely to contract between 3.5 to 4%. Today's service sector is the fastest growing sector in the world, contributing to more than 60% to its economy and accounting for 28% of employment. Although the contribution of its agriculture sector has declined to around 17%, it still is way higher compared to Western nations. We have to bring down our agricultural dependency from around 28% to 15 to 10%, 10 to 15%, and improve mechanized farming and improve the productivity. So then only we will be able to go close to the development of China and the other developed countries. The economy's strength lies in the limited dependence on exports, the high saving rates, favorable demographics, and rising middle class. So this is one of the best area where India is considered to be the youngest nation because 60% of our population falls in the age group of 15 to 30, which is considered to be the most productive and consumable sector or the sector of the life cycle. The consumer confidence has gone down as of now because of uncertainty. Consumers are scared that again when the government is going to announce another lockdown. The supply chain is completely broken. We need to bring back the entire supply chain back because second wave did not really affect much, but first wave definitely affected the infrastructure, the supply chain, the financial inclusion. We learned in the first lockdown, but second lockdown we were able to manage, but we lost too many lives. The production activities have collapsed, but we need to bring them back because since there is no labor, since there is no demand, there is no business. Since there is no demand, no business, no labors. So labor migration is another big problem which we have witnessed. We have to look at recovery of Indian economy. There are three types of recovery. One is V shape, another one is U shape, the last one is L shape. Everyone desire to be there in the V shape of recovery. V shape is our economy has and our growth and our production has fallen very sharply, and we also expect that it will bounce back very, very sharp. So that is called V shape. So we plunge down, again we come back, we reboot. U shape is we have gone down, we fell very sharply, but it will take 2 or 3 years to come back. So that is going to take some time and some thinking, some investment, some government policies. But L shape is one where your economy plunges, but it will take 10, 15 years to come back. So no country wants to be there in the L shape. Every country wants to be there in the V shape. To the max, it wants to go through the U shape, not in the L shape. Hope that Indian economy will bounce back in the V shape recovery. Well, this is what I had prepared for the 30 minutes given to me. If you have any questions or any interaction, any queries, please feel free to ask. Thank you. Over to you, Gayatri Madam.
ஒற்றுமையாக பாடுபடுவோம். வரும் நாட்களில் மிகவும் அவசியமெனில் மட்டுமே வீட்டை விட்டு வெளியேறுங்கள். நினைவில் கொள்ள வேண்டிய சில விஷயங்கள்: முகக்கவசத்தை சரியாக அணியுங்கள், கைகளை அடிக்கடி கழுவுங்கள், 2 மீட்டர் இடைவெளியை கடைபிடியுங்கள், பூசி எடுக்க மறவாதீர்கள். மேலும் தகவலுக்கு 1075 அழைக்கவும் அல்லது www.mohsw.
No duty is more important than of returning thanks. I now request Dr. Pushpalata Ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to all. Star shines at night. Some stars shine at bright daylight. It's a great honor and privilege to extend my vote of thanks. I firstly thank the Almighty whose blessing has led the successful conclusion of the session. I convey my heartfelt thanks to our respectable chairperson, Dr. M. Manik sir, Professor and Director, Global Business School, Karnataka University. Thank you, sir, for your spending your prized time and worthwhile words and such a gracious information on business and work in post-pandemic future. And I also extend my gratitude to our principal, ma'am, Dr. M.K. Malati madam, our honorable correspondent, Dr. Gautam B. White sir, for the support. I also extend my thanks to Dr. Gayatri ma'am, Head Department of Commerce, and Dr. Lakshmi ma'am, Head Department of Accounting and Finance, and IQAC Coordinator Shift 1 for their effort in arranging this 3 days international program and being our pillar in every moment during this session. I also express my special thanks to all faculty members and student community from various colleges and other universities. Finally, I convey my heartfelt thanks to all staff coordinators and student coordinators. Thank you everyone for your presence and making this event memorable one. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.